Hey everybody, this is Games Plus James, and welcome back to our Unity 2D tutorial series where we're taking a look at all the basics you need to make your own awesome platformer game full of goodness. So today, I'm going to cover a topic that a few people have been asking me about, which is adding touchscreen controls to your game, so you can put it on like Android or iPhone or whatever you want to put it on yourself. It's something that I'm surprised to see that there's not many tutorials out there that are useful for it. So it's I think I might actually do a separate video of this outside the series, kind of cover the basics of touch control. But here we're going to look at specifically how we can add it into our game and make it useful for all the stuff that we want to do with it today. Before we start, I want to thank everyone for watching the series so far, and if you found these tutorials helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could check out the Kickstarter campaign for my game, Portalnauts. Portalnauts is a 2D action platforming game featuring multiple characters which you can switch between, with each character having their own abilities that you have to combine together and use their skills to fight enemies and solve puzzles. Portalnauts is now on Kickstarter, where you can download a demo of the game to try it out for yourself, and you can also get awesome rewards for backing the game. You can get a copy of the finished game itself, the soundtrack from the game, an exclusive art book featuring designs and concept art, get your own levels or enemies designed, or even get a pixel art version of you or your own character design in the game with an exclusive art piece featuring your character in-game. So if you found these tutorials helpful so far, make sure you follow the link on screen right now and pledge to Kickstarter today. And when you're all done with that, let's add some touch controls into our platformer. So the first thing we're going to need to do is have a way of showing the buttons that we're going to use. So I've added another file to our art that we've been using in the series so far. So if you follow the link in the description down below, you'll be able to get the art stuff for yourself. So I'm just going to grab it here. It's this one with all these little buttons here. So actually we need to open it in the right folder. So we'll go to our art folder and we'll just drag that straight in here. And then we're going to need to make that it'll be used in the game, so we're going to set everything up the same way we had before. So 16 pixels per unit, multiple sprites, point and true color, and it's 128 by 64, so we want to set the max size to 128. We apply those changes and we go into our sprite editor, and we'll go for the brighter ones here, and we make these all the right size. So we'll just call this touch left arrow. If I could spell things properly, we'd be okay. Touch left arrow. We go for this guy here. We call him touch right arrow. Go for this jump button. Call him touch jump. Fairly straightforward names, nothing too complicated. We also want to be able to use our sword attack, so we'll just call this touch sword, and we'll call this one, if I can frame it right, there we go, we'll call this one touch star, because it's the ninja stars. It's touch star. Okay, so we apply these changes, and now we're going to lay these out in the UI elements of the game. So at the moment we have our health down in the bottom left corner down here, and that's not really where we want to have it, because that's where we're going to want to put our touch controls. So let's move our lives up a little bit. So we go to our live system here. Instead of being anchored in the bottom left, we're going to anchor it in the top left, and then we go to the image and the text. We'll grab both of these guys and just drag them straight up here, bam, like that. And if we just make the game size full, you can see they stay in the right place, just like we want them to. Okay, so we'll unmaximize that. And now we need to make a new object in here. So if we highlight our main place and we create an empty object, and we'll call this touch controls. Okay, and then we need to make what we need. Well, we want to have this aligned on the bottom of the thing, and we want it to be able to stretch from side to side, so we'll keep it there like that, I think. Sorry, we'll keep it like that. I think that's the way we want to do it. But yes, if we right click on this again, we'll go to UI here, and we're going to add an image, and then in the source image here, we'll go in here and we'll select our left arrow, pop that down, and we will preserve the aspect and set native size. That's probably a little bit too big, so we'll drag that down and make that a bit smaller. And we're going to, oh no, stay there you. We're going to obviously want to put this down in the bottom left corner here. And then what we want to do is, we'll just rename this to left arrow. Oh god, capital letters all over the place. Left arrow, and we're going to duplicate that. And we're going to replace this bit here with the right arrow. And we'll rename that. Oh, no. So we'll rename it right arrow. And we'll just drag it over to there. We'll duplicate it again, drag it over here. And we'll call this guy, or not call him, we'll select our jump button. We'll put that in the corner here. And we'll call this guy jump. Duplicate him out again, drag him over roughly there. So what we're doing is just laying out all the little buttons that we have, and that one's way too big now, obviously, because it's the same box size. So we're going to drag this down here. Actually, no, what we should do is make the jump one a bit bigger, like that. There we go, and then drag this guy down. So he's roughly the same kind of size. That looks about right. Okay, and we'll duplicate him out. And we'll just rename both of these actually. So we'll go, this guy is star, and this guy will be sword. Go here, get the sword, drag it over to the left. Now obviously you might want to lay out your buttons differently or whatever, however you want to do it yourself, but this is just a rough basic way to lay it out. So then we've got our 5 little buttons here, and obviously they don't do anything yet, so we're going to have to get them going and make them actually do something for us. And the way we're going to do this is we need to write some code first. So what we're actually going to need to do is we're going to write a new script, but we're also going to need to edit our player controller script to add some more things in and move some things around to make them be able to work either with normal controls or with our touch controls. So we're going to open our player controller script in MonoDevelop. Here we go. Okay, so we're not going to add any new variables just yet. But we are going to, what we're going to do is, so already we've got our jump function is off in its own little separate area, and what we want to do is move everything else out into its own little function as well. So we have a movement, so we want to do a public void move, and our move is going to want to take in a value. So we're going to say float move input. So basically what this will do is it'll move the player based on whatever input we're using. So if we're using the buttons on the screen, it'll take in a value of -1 or +1, and if it's using the normal controls, it'll take in the value of whatever button we're pressing. And it'll be very straightforward to set up and very easy to use. So we're going to say move velocity. Actually no, rather than typing this in, what we're going to do is go up to where we have move. Here we go. So this is the bit of the code that's like handling movement. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to go down here and we're going to paste it in there. So obviously we don't, so the input.getAccessRaw, that's what's handling movement at the moment for us. So we don't want to use that. Instead we want to use the move input value that we're using. So we're going to delete that and go for move input. And then back up above here where we had our getAccessRaw, we're going to comment this out because we're not going to use that one anymore. Instead what we're going to do now is we're going to say move, which is the function we just created, and inside of the brackets where we need a float value, we're going to put in our input.getAccessRaw horizontal. So we'll just copy this, paste that in there, and make sure and end the sentence with a semicolon. And there you go. Now we have, it'll be able to move the exact same way it was before, but now we'll also be able to access this move from outside the thing. So if we just press play here, once it finishes compiling, we should see that the movement should work exactly the same, and everything will be working just the way we want it to be. So once it finishes, oh, we hadn't gotten enough lives left, so let's just go to new game. See, now the movement works perfectly fine, just like we want it to be. That's perfect, and we're happy. Okay, so we go back in here, and now we need to do the exact same thing with other stuff. So let's just set up the framework for them first. So we'll need public void fire star for when we fire our ninja stars. And we have our jump one, we have our movement, we have our stars. So the only thing we need is our sword. So we'll go public void sword. And we'll do it just like that. Okay, so now we need to fill these little bits in. So we'll go to our fire star one. So where do we have our fire star? It's right here. So what we'll do is we'll take this line of code and we'll pop that there just like that. And then up above here now, instead of having this whole instantiate section, we will comment that out and we'll just go fire star like that. And the exact same here, fire star. Oh, if I could spell properly it would be okay. Fire star and two little brackets and semicolon. And so now that calls the little function down here. It's perfect, just what we wanted to do as well. And then our sword, here we're going to take the anim.set bool that sets the sword to be true, and we're going to do that there. And then back up here we're going to just comment that bit out and we will say sword. That's what I called it, wasn't it? It was just sword. Yeah. Okay, so now the way we've set up the game is, or for just specifically this sword attack, is once the sword attack happens, then the next run through it goes and sees if the sword attack is happening and it resets the animation back to being false. But the problem with that is now, if we're activating it from outside that section in the sword here, it could occur at any time. So it could start swinging the sword and immediately cancel it, so then no animation would take place. So what we need to do is add another public void here called reset sword. Put some closing brackets, and we're going to take the false bit here and paste that in there, and we're going to comment that out. I'm going to wrap some curly brackets around this, and we're going to call our reset sword function here. We'll do that. So now we haven't actually changed anything. We've just moved it so that outside of the system now we'll be able to reset the sword. But at the moment it'll still do the exact same thing. If we call the sword attack from the outside, it could just reset it straight away, and that would not be ideal for us at all. It would completely ruin it. And at the moment as well, we also have our touch controls being used at the exact same time as our normal controls. And if you're on like a mobile device, an Android or a iPhone or whatever, you won't be able to use a joypad in general. Most people won't be able to use a joypad with it. You could be specific if you want to set up your game to support joypads on iPhone or whatever. That's a whole nother issue. But most people aren't doing that anyway. So what we need to do is basically, when the game is running on a laptop or whatever, that's when we're going to use the code that we have here, because someone won't be using touch controls. But when it's only running on a handheld, then we only wanted to use these touch controls, and we don't want to use all of this stuff that we have here. So there's a handy little way in Unity to count that stuff out and just be able to use it yourself. So what we're going to do here, or just be able to use it in specific situations. So we're going to say hash if, not if, just if. And what we need to say here is basically what we want to check. We wanted to check and see if it's running on a computer. And the way it runs on a computer is as either a standalone or as a web player. So what we do is go Unity, if Unity standalone, or using the two bars, if Unity web player. So basically if it's either of those things, then you'll be allowed to run this bit of code here. So we'll do all this stuff, and then there's our swords firing and that little section here. So we're going to end that bit there. So now you can see it's wrapped this stuff here, but this stuff is all still available to us. But if we go back into Unity here and we go to our build settings, so at the moment we're set to be on PC at the moment, and it's setting it up as a standalone. You can go to web player here, but if we go down to Android and we click switch platform, so now everything in Unity is like thinking it's running on Android. And we go back in here, now we can see this whole section has been grayed out because now we're running on Android, so this whole bit of code here won't run because we're on Android. And the other thing we want to do the exact same thing with our movement code. So if we go up here, our movement code and our jump code, we want to do the exact same thing here. We actually want to do a little bit something different with our jump function down here. So actually we'll do that first. So at the moment we have up here that it's calculating whether we can double jump based on the update loop here. But what we actually want to do, if we're going to be double jumping from our touch controls, we want to be able to do it from outside as well. So we're going to copy all of this here, go down to our jump section, and we're going to go like this and put that in there. So when we're within our jump function here, we know that the button has been pressed, so we can get rid of the input.get button down bit and the ands as well. So if grounded, then instead of jump, we're going to paste in this little bit here in a second. But here as well, we also don't need this input, so we do that. Okay, so now instead of jump, what we're going to do is we're going to comment this bit of code out and then highlight the line and copy it. I'm going to paste it in here, and obviously we're not going to use jump there, and the exact same thing here, like that. Comment that out, save that. So now our jumps will be able to work perfectly fine just the way we want. And now we're going to use the exact same if statement that we have right here. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to put this before our little jump section is handled, because we don't need to handle jumps from the keyboard or controller when we're on a touch device. And we're going to go just below where we handle our movement code. We'll type in end if there as well. Perfect. So now we can see this little section is commented out and this little section. So if we save this and we go back into Unity now, because we're running on Android, and if we play the game, we shouldn't be able to control anything. We shouldn't be able to manipulate anything that's being used at all. So if we do that and we hit play here, controls don't work, jump doesn't work, firing the arrows or anything doesn't work. Exactly, perfect, that's just what we want. The game isn't broken, but that's actually what we want to be happening. So what we need to do now is make the touch controls work. And excuse me, an easy way to do that now is we need to write another script that's going to handle our touch controls. So we're going to call this one touch controls, and it's going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to basically call all the abilities from the player, and it's going to add a couple of just extra little bits in for us to be able to use nicely. So what we're going to need for variables is we're going to need a private player controller. No, if I could spell controller properly. There we go, we have it there. Player controller, the player. So this is what we'll be using to access the player itself. And then we're going to go public bool and move press. Actually, no, we don't need that. That was something I was trying out before, but we won't need that. So now in our start function here, what we're going to do is the player is equal to find object of type player controller. So that will find the player in the scene, the active player in the scene for us. And then in our update loop, I don't think we're actually going to need our update loop. So now we're going to have a bunch of variables that we want to be able to use. So we'll go through the functions that we're going to need. So I'm just going to copy this because we're going to need a few of them. So we've got a public void. The first function that we're going to need is the left arrow, because we've got that left arrow button. It's basically going to be a bunch of functions just for each button. So we got right arrow, left arrow, right arrow, and we also want to have a function for when an arrow is no longer being pressed. So we'll just call this, we'll say unpressed arrow. Oh, I don't know why I didn't just copy and paste the stuff again. Okay, so we got unpressed arrow. So then we've got our sword. We could probably just call these straight from the player, but we might as well follow this through with the controls, just using the exact same stuff, because further down the line we might want to do something different with the controls and be able to manipulate them in different ways. So we got our star, our sword, and finally we've got our public void. Oh wait, hold on, just copy and paste it again, James. Jump. Perfect. Okay, so within our left arrow one here, basically what this is going to do is, so whenever the left arrow button is pressed, we know that the players want to move to the left, which is -1. So we'll go to player dot move, and in our bracket we'll just say -1. So it'll be the exact same for our right arrow, except instead of -1 we'll have 1. Just space these out. And then in our unpressed arrow it'll be the exact same thing again, but instead of having any movement going on, we want no movement, so we'll set it at 0. So then on our sword here, we're going to go to player dot sword to call that function. Down here we'll do the player dot reset sword, just like that. The player dot we called it Firestar, didn't we? Yeah, Firestar. And then finally down here we will call the player dot jump. Perfect. Okay, so we'll save that, convert it, and then we go back in here. And now we're going to make those touch controls all work. So what we're going to do is on our touch controls holder kind of object here, we're going to open that and we're going to add the touch controls script to that, like that. And then on all these objects here, what we're going to do is add a trigger event to them all, or event trigger, sorry. So event trigger there, we're going to add that to all of them, and then one by one what we're going to do is make it so that when you click or touch on it, it'll do something basically. So we're going to add new event type here on our left arrow. We're going to go pointer down, so that's when the pointer is clicked onto it, so either the arrow or your finger touches on the arrow. So we have list is empty here, we're going to plus there, and we're going to drag touch controls into that slot where it says none, and then under no function we're going to go to touch controls and then left arrow. And what we want to do is also add another new event type for pointer up. So this is when the button is no longer being pressed or it's being released. So that's when we want him to stop moving left, so we want to reset his movement back to 0 like we did in our script. So since we already added one there, it takes the exact same one and it tries to do the exact same thing. So we don't want to do left arrow now, we wanted to do unpressed arrow. So that's perfect, that's exactly what we want to do. So now in our right arrow, we're going to do the exact same thing. So pointer down, grab our touch controls into there, touch controls, and we're going to do right arrow this time. Oh, no, not that. Add a new event type for pointer up. Instead of right arrow, we're going to go unpressed arrow. So now it's almost the exact same with our jump, except we only have to do it on the down click on our jump. So we go pointer down, add one, grab touch controls over, and then touch controls, jump. Almost the exact same for our star. Unfortunately, you can't do, like, we know we wanted to have a pointer down on all of these, but you can't highlight them all and add a pointer down that way. You have to go through each one and add it one by one. Unfortunately, you can't bulk do it. It would be very handy if you could, but that's just a quirk of Unity. So there we go, and now we will add a new pointer down here. Grab our touch controls over. So what you could do, actually, just as an example, we could grab our player, but of course we don't want to refer, the reason we're not doing this is because we don't want to refer to a specific player object every time, because the player object has been destroyed in between each level and our HUD is being recreated in each level. So as soon as we go to the next level, the player won't be able to be recognized. So here we're going to go player controller, and we could just call the sword from there, and that would run the exact same. But we don't want to do that. We want to run it from the touch controls. So we'll do it here. We'll go sword. So now, hopefully, everything should be all lined up perfectly for us. If we hit play here, see, we can move left and right using our touch controls. We can fire these things. We can jump. We can double jump. It's a bit awkward using the mouse to move around like this, but that's okay. I don't know where sword isn't working though. That's kind of a suspicious thing. Let's have a look in our code. So we're definitely running in touch control mode. The sword isn't being reset. Oh, I know what's happening. We didn't on our sword. So we've got a pointer down, but we need our pointer up as well to reset the sword. So pointer up, touch controls, sword, reset sword. There we go. So that should be the problem, I think. There we go. Yeah. See, because nothing happens until you. It's like tapping. You'd be tapping this sword button, so that's what activates it. But if you click on it and hold it, nothing happens. It's only when you release it that it actually does something. So we've got our little firing things, we've got our jumps, we've got our movement side to side. It's perfect, just what we wanted to be working in the game away for us. So there you go. That's the basics of adding a nice little touch control system to your game. Obviously you can use it in many different ways and do lots of different things with it. But it's pretty straightforward. Once you wrap your head around it the first time, it's actually pretty easy to get it going. And like I said, I think I'm going to do a separate video just looking at the very basics of it and adding super simple touch controls to a game of your own. But that's for a little bit further down the line. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. Like I said back at the start, if you head to the Portnod's Kickstarter campaign page, follow the link on screen right now, you can back the game and get some awesome rewards and help make the game as good as can possibly be. If you've been enjoying the series so far, I'd really appreciate the support, and let's make the game as amazing as can possibly be. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll be back soon with more tutorial goodness.